trusted God. He trusted God when he fought both bear and lion. So he has been tested in God. So Saul clothed David with his armor, and he put on a bronze helmet on his head. He also clothed him with a coat of mail. David fastened his sword to his armor and tried to walk, for he had not tested them. And David said to Saul, I cannot walk with these, for I have not tested them. So David took them off. The armor hadn't been tested, so he couldn't really trust it. But he could trust God because he had been tested in God, which is something I'm going to talk about a bit later. Then he took his staff in his hand, and he chose for himself 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, in a pouch which he had, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. So the Philistine came, and began drawing near to David, and the man who bore the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was only a youth, ruddy and good-looking. So the Philistine said to David, Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I'll give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. Then David said to the Philistine, You come to me with the sword, with the spear, and with the javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your head from you. And this day I will give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Then all this assembly shall know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. So it was when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hurried and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. Then David put his hand in his bag and took out a stone, and he slung it and struck the Philistine to his forehead, so that the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood over the Philistine, took his sword, and drew it out of its sheath and killed him, and cut off his head with it. And when the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. As we can see, this is a great example of a time that David trusted God. But after this, Saul became jealous of David and sought to seek his life. Sought David's life. And twice Saul was delivered into the hands of David. David could have killed him, but David did not want to usurp the throne nor kill Saul, because Saul was God's anointed. And even when, after Saul had died, and an Amalekite had come and claimed that he had killed Saul, he thought he'd get a reward from David, now that David had become king. But his reward was death, and David had him executed because Saul was still God's anointed. And even though Saul was delivered into David's hand twice, and he spared him, he trusted God that God would deal with in his timing. And now I'm just and even after David had become king, he also had to trust God in his battles against the Philistines. And now I'm going to read one of David's Psalms. Psalm 37, verses 3 to 8. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell on the land and feed on his faithfulness. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. He shall look forth your righteousness as the light. He shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as the noonday. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who brings wicked schemes to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret, it only causes harm. Now, I'm going to ask you, how easily can you trust a stranger? If you handed him your wallet and just said, look after it for me, and came back 5 minutes later, would you be willing to do that in case maybe, what if they stole the money? How willing would you be trusting a stranger? Yet you can easily just trust a friend. You can do it without even thinking. And this is very similar with God. You need to know who God is. And the more you know God, the more you can trust Him. And David had a relationship with God. All throughout Psalms you can see. And in fact, there's multiple Psalms that actually start with trusting God. I'm not going to go through them, but you can tell that. And even sometimes, David, he had fear of his enemies. And he was really worried, but he still trusted God. And doubts can come really easily. It's in man's nature. It can be too easy to doubt. Even though God never changes, He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We can still somehow just doubt Him. And I'm going to read from Matthew 14, verses 22 to 31, when Jesus walked on water. Immediately Jesus made His disciples get into the boat and go before Him to the other side, while He sent the multitudes away. And when He had sent the multitudes away, He went up on the mountain by Himself to pray. Now when evening came, He was alone there. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Now in the fourth watch of the night Jesus went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw Him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It is a ghost," and they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Be of good cheer, it is I, do not be afraid." And Peter answered Him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." So He said, "Come." And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind was boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." Peter was walking on water, but he still had his doubts just because of some wind. When he saw the wind, he was scared. And it's so easy to doubt. He cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched out His hand and caught him and said to him, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And it can be so easy to doubt. But all we have to do is reach out to God. And He'll bring us out of the deep water.
Yes.
So I encourage you to learn about your Savior. Get to know Him. And it'll be so much more easy to trust Him. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Pastor Cameron. Do you want to do an altar call?